But in the end, what it comes down to, guys, and I got to say this, I didn't want to say this because I mad love and respect for Anthony Davis, and I still think this brother's a star. He's averaging 23 and 9, okay, and shooting better than 50% from the field, just 16% from three-point range, 11 of 65 this year from three-point range, just atrocious three-point shooting. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the Lakers beyond this season. They have to trade Anthony Davis. You don't keep Anthony Davis. Here's why. Because his value is his value as a player, but durability is a question mark at age 28. As you get older, those durability questions are going to be more prevalent. So when you think about his stock being as high as it's going to be, isn't that right now? And if you're looking at LeBron James and the fact that you need additional pieces, I got to say, Anthony Davis is the guy that you could get a lot for in return, potentially, because of his potential.
But also, since you gave up so much to get him, it's going to be impossible to actually do a move on paper to make sense. Right. Because of his potential, Stephen A. He still is a top 10 performer.
Yes.
He is still blocking shots and being active, but it's not as consistently dominant as you need it to be, and that's what's frustrating.
There's a price for winning. Every team, in every sport, there's a price for winning. The Lakers are now paying the price for the bubble championship because just as Jalen said, they got rid of all those assets in order to get Anthony Davis and put a team out there that can win in the bubble. They won. But this is the price for that, Stephen A.
But here's why you're wrong, Wilbon. You're wrong because they didn't trade him after the bubble. They traded him after last season. You still had pieces. You traded them for Russell Westbrook. Yeah, that was a year after the bubble.
I'm not talking about those pieces. I'm talking about the pieces sprinkled all around the league that they had to give up to get Anthony
But you still had enough to be better than you are now if you didn't trade for Russell Westbrook.
He's talking about the all-star pieces like Randall, Ingram, and Ball, who went on to be your Bulls starting point guard.
I don't have a problem with that. If you keep Kyle Kuzma, if you're Frank Vogel, and somehow, some way, Montrezl Harrell and Dwight Howard are guys you can't find a way to use and utilize. No, I look at it that way. You still have pieces to be competitive and be in the mix. If you didn't trade those pieces
then why
this
didn't
past
they keep
season.
Excuse me? Bad judgment.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just saying
there's a price. They won a championship less than 2 years ago.
They
won one.
Love seeing that brother right there, but not as much as I love seeing my next guest. He is a two-time NBA champion and a member of the NBA crew on Inside the NBA for TNT. My brother from Queens, the one and only, the Jet himself, Kenny, the Jet Smith. What's up, big time? How are you, man?
Queens get the money. Queens get the money.
Listen, man, first of all, before I even get into all of these All-Stars and this All-Star festivity, I first want to ask you, y'all going to be broadcasting this game? I saw TNT and TBS. The Inside the NBA crew is going to be broadcasting from this weekend's events?
Yeah, so, kind of like what we do on college basketball when we do the game is on TNT, TBS, and other networks. We're going to be doing it, the game from TBS. So it'll be Charles, myself, Shaq, Draymond, and Ernie. We're going to be calling the All-Star game on TBS. So watch TBS. We want to beat the TNT ratings. We want to let everybody know that they watch it. So if you watch it on TBS.
That's hilarious. Don't watch them. You watch TNT all the time. Just don't watch them this week and watch us, right?
Don't watch them do it this week. Watch us, right? Because we gonna bring what we bring to the show for sure.
Let me ask you this question, man. I mean, when people think about All-Star Weekend, one of the first things that come to their mind is All-Star Weekend. And I remember when I was doing some highlights and showing some of the best dunks that I've ever seen in slam dunk history. What I remember most is when Vince Carter dunks and you're screaming, "It's over! Let's go home! Let's go home!" I mean, because if anybody could speak about how exciting the slam dunk contest is compared to what it used to be, it would be you. How do you feel about the slam dunk contest at this particular juncture in your career?
Yeah, for me, it's always a great event because it could be not great, and I'm going to bring that it's terrible. Right. I'm not going to hold back, and if it's great, I'm going to bring the excitement. I've been a dunk fan, since. Man, when I was young, watching Dr. J jump from the free throw line, then watching Jordan jump sideways when I was, in college, and now all the way up to, Zach LaVine and those guys and Aaron Gordon. So I've always been a dunk fan. My voice has been part of the culture of it. And and where I really get the energy from is, you know, growing up in New York City, as you know, there's always the guys on the mic at the park, at Rucker Park.
That's right.
Guys on the mic at King Tower tournaments, you know, citywide, all of these tournaments that we played in growing up, they always brought a flair to the game. So I said, I'm going to just bring that to the dunk contest. And so I got to credit those guys who were in the park, you know, that were on the mic. And you know, I get a lot of credit for a lot of stuff I say, but a lot of that energy comes from that era of loving the game. And if you just do it as a fan, I announce the game as a fan first,
Right.
then as an analyst.
Man, listen, man, we've been boys for years, and your older brother, Vincent, used to train me. I mean, you played, I tried to play. We know the difference, okay? But I tell you this, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because a lot of times when I'm talking to a lot of cats about my approach to covering the sport, they don't realize where we get it from. We were in the parks. We were in the streets. We heard cats calling the game, and when you didn't show up, you didn't perform or whatever, they weren't nice about it, Kenny. They didn't crucify you like you were bad, but they let you know you stunk up the joint, and I think that's a good thing, don't you?
Yeah, well, the one thing that playing in that environment, which is, you know, just imagine a cage and everybody on the cage, let's say, and you inside the cage playing a basketball game. That's the environment of a New York City park game. So you cannot have thin skin. And you cannot have a long memory. You have to have a short memory. You have to have thick skin. So it builds character. We talk about guys being tough. It's really mental toughness. It's not like LeBron James. He has mental toughness. He doesn't. He's not going to fight. He's not probably the strongest guy in the league that could beat everybody fighting. But if you say something or do something to him, he has a mental toughness to go on. That's what park basketball does for me.
Let me transition to this season, because I'd be remiss in not bringing up some storylines with you right in front of my face. The Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, are now members of the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie and KD. James Harden is in Philadelphia. I respect the hell out of Daryl Morey, but I thought he gave up entirely too much. Had he played a better job of poker earlier, he might have gotten Harden for less in the end. That's just my thinking. I think Brooklyn is considerably better than they were, even though I know Philly's better than they were as well. How did you feel about the trade?
Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn for sure, you know, the depth that they have on the days that Kyrie doesn't not eligible to play. Also, while guys are injured, if guys need to rest, Brooklyn has, you know, between Patty Mills and Seth Curry, guys who can really spread the floor and shoot the ball and really make it difficult for you to double off of. Drummond, obviously, they've increased their depth. Now, on the other end, Philadelphia, they might not have as much depth, but those two guys are, you know, Embiid and Harden are accustomed to having heavy workloads. So they're accustomed to having the ball in their hands a lot more. So their usage will go up. But I think those two guys, they are usage guys. So if like Kevin Durant is not a usage guy, you can just throw it to him and the ball is out of his hands in less than 3 seconds most of the time. Where the other two don't play like that in Philadelphia. So honestly, it doesn't really hurt them as much, but they just won't be as good as long, Stephen. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's a 4-year window with this, you know, where Brooklyn has a 4-year window. You know, they still can win a championship. I think
who's
Philly
winning this
has
year?
maybe a 2-year window.
But who you got this year in the East?
In the East?
Right now,
wow.
right now.
Oh, right this second, without really seeing Brooklyn, I would say the Milwaukee Bucks are the team to beat. But if Brooklyn is what I think they are, they will win the play-in series. They will come out of the play-in, and they will be in the conference finals very easily to me.
Oh, Kenny, I don't think they're going to be in the play-in. Kevin Durant's going to come back after All-Star break, and there's no way in hell they're going to be in the play-in. I think they're going to easily be one of the top 6 seeds in the Eastern Conference.
Well, he's playing poker when he's coming back. That's why I'm like, I don't understand that, but he's playing poker. But, you know, you really have to think about this with Philly. James Harden, arguably, is the best lob thrower in the last decade.
That's true.
And so when you do that pick and roll and you throw that lob up, Stephen, to Embiid, those are easier baskets that Embiid does not get now. So he's going to get 6 to 8 points on lobs now.
Mm-hmm.
James coming to the lane. Even if he doesn't pick and roll,
right.
His man comes to help. He throws it up. He gave Capella $100 million doing that. Like,
yeah. Let me transition
he made Capella
to
$100 million man. So
yeah, I got you.
I think that is going to be something else to add to Philadelphia.
Let me transition to the West. I only got 2 questions because I got to get on out of here real quick. The West, we've been talking about the Warriors. We've been talking about Phoenix for obvious reasons. We ain't talking about the Lakers. What's the biggest story in the Western Conference for you going on right now?
Well, I think it is the Lakers. You know, the injuries, the lack of depth, the lack of continuity for, you know, 3 guys who are 3 top 75 players of all time. And, you know, one of them is pretty much still in his prime. So I think that is a huge story. The second understated story is the job that Tyronn Lue is doing.
Oh, yeah.
That's the most understated. Like, here's a guy who doesn't have his 2 best players, and they're playing and winning games. I don't know how he's pulling them out the hat. So, to me, L.A. is the story.
I got you. Before I let you get on out of here, man, your damn boy and mine, Charles Barkley, talk about retiring.
Right.
Talk about he gonna retire. He want to retire on the golf course. He don't want to retire sitting on the television screen. Are we to take that serious, Kenny the Jet Smith? I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, Charles is. I always laugh with him when he tells me he's going to retire. I'm like, bro, we only work 1 day a week. Like, we only work on Thursdays. Like, who retires from I said, we really are retired. We only work on Thursdays until playoffs. So we only work 1 day. We got 6 days off a week. So you can play golf 6 days. So talking about you don't want to die on the set, you're not going to die on the set because you only work 1 day a week until May and June. May and June is when we actually work. I mean, he's been saying it that he does want to retire, but Charles could not. I don't think he could